Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you, Rosalie, Michelle, for coordinating this call. Ko Nathalie Whitaker ho, ko Ngāti Kairo Te Iwi. I'm one of three co-founders in the Toha project. We have been a really generous and kind of long R&D project up until this point to kind of deeply inquire behind the systems that move funding, finance, investment, and ask some serious questions about why we encounter challenges connecting up capital to the frontline innovations and community work that Rangamati has so brilliantly set out. We all come from careers and backgrounds where we've had the opportunity to work alongside some of the most innovative and inspiring community leaders, bringing forward solutions, and our careers up until joining Toha had us asking some questions about why it was so hard to achieve what so clearly is impactful work. I guess just speaking to my own background, I was really privileged to experience very early on in my career my whānau values come through the opportunity to lead a family company in social services and employment support services. And so for me, it's never really been a question that business or our organisations can take on the sort of sacred values that we have. But I went on to create a platform called Give a Little, which for me was just like a giant experiment in a marketplace for manaakitanga. It was really my attempt to kind of grow generosity and support as many causes in New Zealand as I could. But I left that experience asking even more questions about the systems that we have to finance solutions and people as opportunities, and wanted to do more. So I guess at the time we were encouraged, at the beginning of Toha, we were encouraged to inquire behind the potential of impact investment. And so a big part of our work over the last 5 years has been really asking whether impact investment is able to take on the mindset shift that Mike set out at the beginning of this call to kind of meet with the natural momentum that we find for within our communities to kind of meet that climate and nature resilience challenge that we now face. So I'll get specific because it's important. We're very, really specific in Toha as a systems change project. But we are building an impact payments system. I think that's probably the simplest way to describe it. We want all of our R&D to make it easier to move large-scale capital to the solutions that we have been working with over the last 4 years. We've focused a lot on regenerative agriculture and the food system resilience that we need moving into the next phase. We've also done a deep dive, worked alongside the community out in Tairāwhiti, established our R&D base out there 5 years ago. It's great to have Lily on the call. My work in Tairāwhiti is really doing everything I can to design a system that would support the empowerment of the community leadership that we see mobilising time and time again to meet the challenges. This payment service, we want to be able to incentivise emissions reduction and new forms of sequestration, and to recognise the full value of the sequestration of the land management that we have in New Zealand today. And critically, we are hoping to move the conversation beyond natural capital and ecosystem services and start to think about payment for services back to nature. And I think this is where, for me personally, it becomes kind of a little bit full circle, because it's generosity again back, but this time giving back to nature and not thinking about the commodification of nature, the pricing of it. It's not for us to make products out of nature, but it is our duty to do work. And if we can measure that work in a way that the markets can understand, then our theory is that we should be able to unlock more capital under more high trust conditions. That's yet to be proven, but we've been working really hard. The key focuses for us are climate, biodiversity, water and food systems. That innovative funding model we believe is critical to scaling up solutions at the community level. Post-cyclone this year, we started to operationalise the payment system through a service called the East Coast Exchange. That's gone on to develop a number of iwi partnerships and community partnerships. Actually, the beautiful thing about Tairāwhiti is that you can actually get partnership right across all the kind of key parts of the New Zealand ecosystem. So we've had amazing relationships with the central government ministries that have been present, as well as local government, the Economic Development Agency, and then all of the amazing innovation leaders. The public demonstration through the East Coast Exchange is really focused on the biodiversity mission, bringing together of partners to look at how land use transition can bring about new resilience in a region that's pretty vulnerable to climate change and breakdown in nature. And our view is that we really just need to be focused on financing the work, but we have to do that using infrastructure that protects the community and the intellectual property and the rights associated with this environmental work. So under the hood, we are extraordinarily geeky about data and about the infrastructure and the governance of that infrastructure necessary to bring about the sorts of outcomes that are necessary. We are moving into a period of two really significant campaigns that will give public visibility to the end-to-end toha model. We'll also be publishing our white paper around our data economics, which is a critical part of creating incentives for new environmental projects to get their funding. And we're spending a big amount of time thinking about how to be more cooperative in our approach to investment in technical infrastructure. So we have very much of a view that it's going to take an ecosystem approach to the technology and the coordination required from here. We have been, through our R&D process, really focused on making sure that we could uphold our values in the system design. We're feeling good about that, but obviously we're going to need lots of help and support to ensure that we can hold the system to account for everything that we hope it can achieve. But we also want to make sure that by working together, lots of different measurement technologies and climate tech solutions, that we get stronger and we can bring together the end-to-end payments infrastructure that's necessary to move large-scale money in the way that we need to. So if you're interested in how Indigenous data sovereignty applies to impact investments, how to think about collective governance models over program financing, if you want to think about what a biodiversity credit system might look like for New Zealand, and how so many issues that Mike raised actually come to the fore, thinking about these types of market mechanisms and innovations, how there are amazing opportunities to bring forward the values that we've discussed today, but they're also incredibly tricky in terms of creating new vulnerabilities. So, that we're a team that's navigating this type of work. We don't have all the answers, and we know that the EHF network is an incredible opportunity to connect what we think is pretty special and unique in terms of bringing an Indigenous worldview to the data infrastructure and technology design for new markets. But we're operating in some pretty isolated and small-scale demonstrations at the moment, and would welcome the connection beyond our organisation. So I'll leave it there.